All right.
All right, we are live. We are here for our Keto Study Club. Let me roll the intro.
I like that intro. It's so good. It's so groovy.
I love it. I love it.
Well, you know what? We all like the rock music, so I figured it would suit us for sure. So awesome. Okay, how are you two doing today?
I'm doing great, avoiding the heat. It's like 98 degrees here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's hot.
I am also doing great. I don't even know how many degrees it is here, but it's pretty hot. Let's see.
You've got
Um,
snowflakes on your ears. Are those flowers?
no, they're flowers. It says it's 82, but we had a high of 97 or 87, but I don't know if I believe it. It feels pretty hot out there.
Yeah. So you're in Kentucky and Carrie's in Tennessee. I'm in Washington now. It's in the 60s here. So
Oh,
it,
wow.
yeah, this is a typical mild summer for us. So, but awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys ready? If you're new joining us, we're going through this textbook here. And it is a textbook.
My favorite day of the week, y'all, and we got to do it a day early. So I was
That's
so
right.
excited.
We're here on
I know
Wednesday
this is so
today.
much fun.
Because Kim's working tomorrow. So
Yeah.
next week we're picking back up. I know we talked about doing a couple days a week, but we haven't talked any further. But we'll at least this plan for next week. We'll pick it up on Thursday. But awesome. So we left off at last week we spent the whole time going through this table 1.1 with all the biological features and explanations for basically why we're carnivores.
I have a question. What is Thursday's date? Is next Thursday, is that July 4th?
Good question. Yes, it is.
Oh,
So we may, as much as I would enjoy it, and you all probably would. I mean, I imagine though that I don't know. Do you guys want to do it another day, or do you want to do it on the evening of the 4th? I'm cool with it. It's just it just dawned on me.
Yeah, I don't think we should do it on
I
the
don't think
holiday.
no,
Yeah.
because I've got some plans. I didn't even think about that.
No, I didn't either. And a lot of people on Wednesday are getting ready for Thursday, so maybe we should just like not do next week and pick up the following week, which would be the 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do that.
Seems like forever, but all right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I completely zoned.
The reason I was thinking about it was because I was looking ahead at my schedule and like I'm taking Friday off, and then I'm also taking off next Friday, which is the 5th. And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, it snuck up on me in a sense. I mean, this summer has just snuck up on me.
Oh,
I know it's almost July already. It's crazy. Well, next Wednesday evening, my daughter and I are going to a concert together. So
cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't be available Wednesday.
What concert are you going to?
Have you ever heard of the group? They're an independent group. Have you ever heard of the group called Walk Off the Earth?
No, I haven't. What style are they?
Gosh, good question. I mean, I guess you could say they're more like pop music, but they're really fun. I mean, they're really unique in that they have all these bizarre instruments and they use a whole bunch of stuff that's not an instrument as instrument, and they're really talented. And they have a huge following. Like they do concerts all over the world. They're from Canada. And I've been watching them on YouTube for a long time. And it's cool now because the main couple, there's like 4 of them, and the main couple, they have 3 sons. And so now their sons are all musicians and like to participate with their concerts and stuff. So it's really cool.
So what is there? Walking off the earth? Is that
walk off the earth?
Walk off the earth. Okay.
Yeah, they're very good, high energy, like really fun to watch. And so I've never seen them in concert before, so I'm pretty excited, and they're very highly entertaining. So like they're kind of one of my go-tos if I just want to pick me up and I want to watch some music that really just makes me smile.
Yeah.
I'll bet you my brother has heard of them. He
I'm gonna have to check 'em
listens to all types of stuff.
Yeah, and they have their own original music, but they also do a lot of really cool covers.
Oh, okay.
Because they do, some of it is just like with all their crazy weird instruments. Yeah, it's really fun.
Well, that's
Well, all
cool.
right. That sounds like a good time. I'll be interested in hearing how that
Oh,
goes.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll let you know. Walk off the earth sounds like flat earthers. It does, because technically
I didn't even think about that.
the earth. Exactly. So
Oh, that's funny.
You'll walk right off the side.
walk right off. That's right. Doesn't take you float off
That is
the earth.
hilarious.
So awesome. So are you ready to get going?
Let's go.
Okay, so let's see if we can keep the reading in a circle this time. And I'm not skipping Kim.
We don't want to skip Kim again.
Poor Kim last week was like, "Hey, what about me?"
I'm like, hey guys.
I can read.
Oh my God, that's funny. All right, good deal. Okay, so Kiri, you want to start? So we are read the section number and the section title so everyone knows where we're at.
Okay, we are on section 1.1.6. Is that correct? The critical role of animal fat in human evolution. That's the one where
Yep.
we're okay. Great. I marked the correct spot. So
yeah, I did too. This week. Last week I messed up.
well, we did do the table, and that little section starts in the previous page. So I couldn't remember if we had done that before we did the table or not.
Yeah, no, we skipped right to the table. And
Okay.
So you're good.
All right. So 1.1.6, the critical role of animal fat in human evolution. The evidence that humans were carnivorous during the Paleolithic period has important implications for our understanding of the biology of fat and protein consumption and metabolism in humans. Carnivores have a large capacity to consume protein for energy. Cats, for example, can obtain over 70% of their energy from the metabolism of protein. Consumption of protein for energy requires the removal of the toxic nitrogen element from the protein molecule. Now that's interesting. Okay. Sorry for the thump. My book thumped. Okay. However, humans have a limited capacity to perform this removal. It is estimated that nitrogen removal becomes limiting when protein exceeds 35 to 45% of the total caloric intake. This limitation means that 55% to 65% of calories in the human diet must come from animal fat or from fat and carbohydrates in plant materials. Since humans were hunters of large animals, and large animals store over 50% of their calories as fat, it may be deduced that fat provided a very high percentage of the ingested calories of early humans. A comprehensive review led Joachim, I hopefully pronounced that correctly, to formulate the fat hypothesis, which proposes that a hunted prey's fat content was an essential criterion that directed early humans' hunting decisions. He writes, the most efficient procurement of fatty meat is given priority over that of lean meat in the decision-making process, as is that of big meat package over small. Okay. That sentence kind of didn't make sense to me.
So to me, that means that they preferred bigger prey over smaller prey, and they also preferred more fatty prey. over
Right. I
limit.
guess the big meat package over small. I'm thinking
The way
we're
it
talking
was
hunting.
worded.
Things didn't come in packages
Right.
back then.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's been a long day. My brain kind of fell behind a moment there. But okay. So let's see. At times, the hunted prey was abandoned once it was deemed fatless. Humans preferentially hunted large animals as they contained a higher body fat content. They specifically exploited those animal parts that contain greater amounts of fat. They also selectively hunted adult prey in their physical prime because this group of animals contains more fat than do the easier to catch younger and older animals. Finally, at great energetic expense, they extracted fat by boiling bones. In summary, the physiological and archaeological evidence supports the conclusion that the natural species-specific human diet involved the daily consumption of significant amounts of animal fat and protein.
Okay. All right, cool. So that's kind of what, I mean, I don't know. Have you guys actually measured your fat, like how much fat percentage your diet is?
I have
Uh,
not.
no, I mean, I once or twice, but
Yeah.
I think I'm probably not getting enough fat, especially reading this. This is very interesting to me. The way that it was saying um, that basically we can't break down, we can't get rid of the nitrogen up to past a certain percentage. So that tells me, maybe I'm supposed to be consuming more fat.
Yeah, that maybe too much protein is going to give us some of these nitrogen, not be able to break down the nitrogen. Mike, of course, says, yes, our ancestors preferred ribeyes and bone broth.
That they did.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I can tell, or I believe that what it is not getting enough fat. Like I don't purposefully like eat just huge sticks of butter or anything like that, but I generally just eat the fat that comes with whatever meat I'm eating, and I'm certainly not afraid of fat. So I've never, even before carnivore, never trimmed it off or anything. But I can tell that sometimes I just don't get as much fat for whatever reason, like maybe just whatever I'm eating just doesn't have as much fat on it as I normally would eat or something. And I can definitely tell, like for example, it might be harder to use the restroom, so to speak.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
then I'll make a conscious effort then, okay, I know I need to just really get more fat. And I've also noticed that because I'll go through periods, now I love my bacon, but I will go through times where I don't eat any for a while. And I mean, I get the thick cut fatty bacon, and I can tell a difference after a while if I haven't had any in a while. I can just tell that I miss it.
Yeah.
And so then I crave it, and then I just eat a lot of it.
Yeah.
So do you guys go through that too?
Yeah, I feel like I do. I mean, I stick with fatty cuts of meat, and I did track for maybe 3 or 4 days to see what my macros were. And at that point I was getting, I mean, it varied from day to day, but I was always somewhere between 65 and 85% of my calories from fat. And that was without adding, like putting butter on my steak or anything like that. That was just from the fatty cuts of meat
I
itself.
don't think I get that much. I mean,
I don't think I
get
do
a
either.
lot, but I don't think I'm anywhere near like 85%.
That's right.
Yes. We have to carry on the Dr. Berry tradition.
That's right. We got to talk to.
Hey, listen, we're two of us are nurses and one of us analyzes everything. Okay.
This is true.
And I was a GI nurse, so I have to talk poop.
Yeah.
I used to talk poop every day with patients. So Carrie at least says it nicely, like going to the restroom or the bathroom. I just come right out and say poop.
You're telling us what it looked like on the poop scale. What is that called?
The Bristol stool chart.
The Bristol poop scale. Like when I first saw that, I thought, how ridiculous is this? Why are we comparing food or poop to food? Like, I don't want to
Have
get
you
that
guys ever
image.
like looked at your compared your poop with the scale before?
Yeah.
Have y'all ever done it? I have. I mean,
yeah.
I just admit it.
I mean, I have to do that with patients all the time. So like,
Uh-huh.
it's just constantly in my head. Oh yeah, that's about
Of course, patients, once they've pooped in the hospital bed, it doesn't necessarily look the
Oh,
same
no.
as if it was dropping into a toilet because
Well,
they've been
Yeah.
laying in it.
Thank goodness the patients I have these days out of the ICU, they don't really have a lot of poop in their bed. They
Oh,
kind of get
that's
up and go to the
true.
bathroom.
That's true. Gone are the days of dealing with C. diff patients.
I mean, there is still an occasional C. diff, or there's an occasional post-op patient that the doctor comes through and says, "Oh, they need all these enemas back to back," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You realize this is a PACU, right? Like this is a recovery room, and we're letting." But I mean, it's just. Sometimes
Mike,
it's
get yourself.
necessary for medical reasons. I get it, but it's
That's
like,
right.
seriously, doc, they couldn't wait until they get upstairs for this.
Right.
And the upstairs are going, thank you for doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike, you need to get a Bristol stool chart poster for your bathroom.
That's
So
awesome.
there is a website called Rate Your Poop. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, where people actually like submit pictures.
Oh, God.
Rate Your Poop or Rate My Poop, forget something like that, where people actually submit pictures of their poop and people will actually give it ratings.
You mean like just tell what type it is on
Oh
that
no,
scale?
they're like
No,
other people are judging.
Like, oh, this is a gorgeous. Look at this perfect log.
Like,
10 out of 10. Bravo.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
The Russians gave it a 5.
Okay, we are diverging.
I will say that as the mother of 4 children, over the years, not as a nurse, but as a mom, I have noticed that a good healthy poop doesn't usually leave tracks. Or clog the toilet. If you've got a toilet clogging cement log there, that's probably a little constipation and need some more water in their diet.
Okay, so this poop talk has gone on for quite a while now.
Yes, let's go on. Let's go on.
It's fun. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's fun. All right, good. Okay, so basically we probably should keep our protein no more than 45%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really messing up.
Yeah, I think I get more.
Well, and
I think I'm about half and half, honestly, like half fat. Yeah. Maybe a little more fat than protein.
Yeah.
And the fat is good for the hormones.
Mike said, let's move on. Okay, come on, ladies. We got to get with this here.
Oh, and the puns.
All right.
All right. Okay, Kim, next section.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Summary of evidence for the species-specific natural human diet. The evidence presented here and elsewhere strongly supports that the hypothesis that humans evolved to become specialized. Okay, I read that wrong. The evidence presented here and elsewhere strongly supports the hypothesis that humans evolved to become specialized carnivores. This dietary pattern lasted until very late into the Pleistocene period, approximately 15,000 years ago. A slight modification towards a greater inclusion of plants may have started in Africa some 85,000 years ago. This is suggested by changes in the FADS group of genes. That trend has increased in intensity towards the arrival of the Neolithic culture and the beginning of agriculture, starting between 11,000 and 5,000 years ago, depending on the geographic region. It is clear from the evidence presented in Table 1.1 that the evolutionary adaptations to the consumption of large quantities of meat and fat remain deeply embedded in human biology.
Okay, so nothing really exciting about that section.
Well, I have a question.
I had a more boring section ever.
Changes in the FADS group of genes. What's the FADS? Am I missing something?
I don't know. Maybe just a certain group of genes, I guess. I would have just said in the genes. But I think they wanted to be more specific, for the scientific type.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So I looked it up. So FADS is an enzyme that in humans is encoded by the FADS gene. I think it has a gene that has to do with being able to digest fat.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the protein encoded by the FADS gene is a member of the fatty acid desaturates is FADS gene family, and desaturates omega-3 and omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids. So basically it breaks down. It's a gene that makes it so you can break down fats.
Okay.
Okay, I learned something.
There you go. Okay. So anyways, yeah, so it suggests changes in the FADS group of genes. So, okay, so next section is 1.1.1.8 is the appearance of agriculture causes the first changes to the species-specific natural human diet. So the next stage in the evolution of the human diet began with the domestication of plants, starting about 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent in Asia. The addition of cereals and grains to the human diet reduced human reliance on hunting, fishing, and gathering. A secure source of storable year-round food allowed the growth of stable communities living together in towns and villages. Jared Diamond suggests that for the future of the earth and the human species, agriculture was the worst mistake in the history of the human race. According to Diamond, the adoption of farming produced a number of serious disadvantages, including starvation, epidemic diseases, and malnutrition. By 3000 BC, humans living on cereals and grains had lost at least 13 centimeters in height. Since then, agriculture has coexisted in different communities with either hunting and gathering or exclusively with the herding of domesticated and self-domesticated animals. Never in our prehistory has there been a group of humans that existed solely on the exclusive cultivation or gathering of plants or on a purely vegetarian/vegan diet. I got the interesting section.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So, yeah, so basically, I like the fact that he says that agriculture was the worst mistake in the history of the human race.
Wow. That's a lot.
And there's a lot
big
to
statement.
that. There's actually a book, and I will have to do some digging to find out the name of it. I've heard of it and I've wanted to read it, but basically, and I know Dr. Berry's mentioned it among others, that talks about with the advent of agriculture, not only did it, the food quality was not as good, but it also allowed the control of people. So people were like placed in like villages or towns and things like that. And then there were rulers over those people, and it sort of domesticated the people. It made, it added to the class.
The class system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were the peasants, the serfs, and just like what we read in, other books that we've read, it talks about how the starvation, and the peasants, they were starving. And so they were eating plants, and all these studies, was it the Ansel Keys studies that were, they studied these during an era where there was scarcity and there was starvation. And so he said the people were eating plants, but it was only that specific period of time because they didn't have access to the animal products. So if you have less hunting going on, and you can definitely develop somewhat of a class system, keep people poor and keep them sick. And
like the whole Robin Hood thing. I think we've talked about this before, though. It was based on the fact that the poor peasants, the people, couldn't hunt on the king's lands where all the game was. So they were just eating like gruel.
Right.
and they were
Right.
hungry and they needed food, and that was a big part of. And I think controlling the food supply is a major way of controlling the people.
Yeah.
So I can see why that the whole agricultural setup was detrimental to humans, and then because the food quality, since it's not as good, the health was bad, and I mean, losing 13 centimeters in height.
And that kind of lends to Mike's comment. So Mike's controversy, lots of bread eating in the Bible. Yeah, and bread was actually symbolic too in Christianity, because I know with both Protestants and Catholics, they do communion, and it's the bread is supposed to symbolize the body of Christ. And so there is a lot of bread, and also too, like in the Old Testament, where during like Passover, when the Israelites were leaving Egypt, they were supposed to bake unleavened bread. So there's a lot of bread, yeah, throughout. And but yes, of course, almost no processing and lots of walking everywhere. Yeah, that's true. And even now in I think is it in Europe where the grains are better than in the US?
That's what I've heard, that
Yeah.
they're not the like not GMO, but I mean the modified ones, like what
Yeah.
William Davis talks about, like in wheat belly, where they've been modified, they've been grown so that the seed heads are longer. There's more seeds on there, and the grains are actually, or the stalks are shorter.
Yeah.
And
I heard
I
the
think that,
heirloom grains are easier to digest, and yeah. Hey,
yeah,
potty
Okay,
talk.
y'all, we better go on, or we're not going to get much read this
Right.
time either.
That's true. Wash your hands and say your prayers, because Jesus and germs are everywhere. Okay. All right. God, love it. Okay. So that means, Carrie, next section.
okay. 1.1.1.81. The health and diets of farmers compared to hunter-gatherers. Am I on the right one? Yeah.
You are.
Okay, making sure. During most of the Holocene, the period of improved, warmer climate that started approximately 11,650 years ago, the human diet became more varied than it had ever been. We find societies living side by side, but eating diets that range from almost exclusively animal-based to predominantly agricultural and plant-based. But it is clear that the health of those societies that continued to eat an animal-based diet were superior. In 1877, Lieutenant Scott, a U.S. cavalry scout, wrote about the Cheyenne Scouts, whose actions led to the defeat of General Custer at the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876. They were all keen, athletic young men, tall and lean and brave, and I admired them as real specimens of manhood more than anybody of men I have ever seen before or since.
Wow.
They were perfectly adapted to their environment and knew just what to do in every emergency and when to do it, without any confusion or lost motion. Their poise and dignity were superb. No royal person ever had more assured manners. I watched their every movement and learned lessons from them that later saved my life many times on the prairie. Scott also noted that the Crow, the enemies of the Cheyenne, hunted bison once a week from large herds, that their camp was full of meat drying everywhere. Everybody was carefree and joyous. Others reported that the American Plains Indians were free of the diseases that afflicted European settlers, including diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and most infectious diseases. It is rare to see a sick body among them, and that they are unacquainted with a great many of diseases that afflict Europeans, such as gout, gravel, and dropsy, etc. I'm not sure what those are. Plains Indians were also amongst the tallest peoples then living on Earth. Today, type diabetes type 2 diabetes mellitus and obesity are rampant among their descendants. Another group of hunter-gatherers, the Inuit of the Arctic, consumed diets based on meat and animal fat, as did the Maasai herders living close to the equator, as well as the herders of the high plateau of Central Asia. Other human gatherers living in warmer climates subsisted on a diet with a higher component of plants, whereas coastal societies lived on fish and other aquatic foods. In the same historical period, peoples who lived close to the large rivers, such as the Nile, the Euphrates, the Indus, and the Yangtze, relied on an agricultural diet high in plant-based foods, supplemented with dairy and meat from domesticated animals. Besides the change in food acquisition methods, the post-Paleolithic period was also characterized by the more intensive use of food processing methods. However, this change to the agricultural diet was clearly associated with worsening human health. In their seminal book, Paleopathology at the Origins of Agriculture, Cohen et al. Show that the transition to agriculture was forced rather than voluntary, a change born of a shortage of natural foods and not the result of sudden marvelous inventions in plant and animal domestication. Based mainly on studies of bone pathology, these authors show that humans suffered many novel chronic diseases after switching from a diet based on hunting to one grounded on the consumption of domesticated foods. North America, where agricultural groups lived side by side with hunter-gatherers, provides pathological evidence that the hunter-gatherers were healthier than the agriculturalists. Steckel et al. Have written, diet was also closely related to change in the health index, with performance being nearly 12 points lower under the triad of corn, beans, and squash than with the more diverse diet of hunter-gatherer groups. Wow. Africa also includes ethnic groupings that chose to eat different diets, either predominantly carnivorous or mainly plant-based. In 1931, Orr and Gilkes compared the health and physical attributes of the Kikuyu, a vegetarian tribe, eating predominantly cereals supplemented with roots and fruits, with the largely carnivorous Maasai, whose diet comprised milk, meat, and raw blood. Compared to the adult Kikuyu, adult Maasai were about 5 inches, 13 centimeters taller, 23 pounds or 10 kilograms heavier, and 50% stronger when tested with a hand dynamometer. Wow. In addition, bony deformities, dental caries, anemia, pulmonary conditions, and tropical ulcers were more prevalent in the Kikuyu, whereas rheumatoid arthritis and intestinal stasis were more common in the Maasai. That's interesting. The effects on human health of the transition to farming are also revealed in the mummified bodies in South America and Egypt. The mummies from groups eating the agricultural diet exhibit a wide range of diseases, including tuberculosis and cancer. It seems that with time, humans learned how to overcome some, but perhaps not all, of the unhealthy effects of eating the agricultural diet. Okay. That's a lot to digest, no pun intended. That's a lot of information.
Yeah. And I know that it's interesting because all of this whole section seems to encapsulate a lot of the things that were referred to in previous books that we read in our book, covered in our book club, that they, basic, but it was really interesting. I really liked the section where it talked about General Custer's observations of the Cheyenne scouts and how, he was obviously very impressed with their physical ability. The fact that they were even in it. One thing I noted, because it wasn't just their physical, like he said they were athletic and they're tall, but he also gave them non-physical attributes like
Mhm.
brave, and basically they were smart, they were adapted to their environment, they knew what to do in an emergency. So obviously their mental acuity was really high. They
Mhm.
were also had very good manners. They were dignity, and they had dignity. They were poised. I mean, there's all these qualities that aren't even physical that he mentioned about how amazing these guys were.
And don't you know that when people go on the carnivore diet or go ketovore or very low carb, one of the things that they always talk about is like being calm, that carnivore or that keto calm, and the fact that you can like reason through things. I mean, I know that that's
Right.
something that I noticed in myself was clarity and energy. It wasn't just a like a physical appearance type of a thing. There were other things internally and just like in my mind that improved. And I'm sure you guys can say the same thing. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just amazing. And so this here just basically, I think they just had keto/carnivore calm.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I can definitely attest to it. I mean,
Yeah.
my brain fog was so bad. I was slurring my speech, and I couldn't get my words out, and my brain would freeze. I couldn't get thoughts together. So absolutely, I've noticed a big difference. And it's interesting. So my husband I don't know if he read or he watched a video about some study that was, I don't know if it was recently published or not, but it was a study that was done. It was kind of like an egg trial. It was done on students, and they took little kids, and had them take an IQ test at the beginning, and then they had their control group, and then their study group. They had them make sure they had at least one egg a day. So
Yeah,
if they
that was
already
in one of the books that we read.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember some of that.
And their IQ points of the study group, it went up like 15 points just by adding one egg a
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't
day.
remember the specifics of it, but I remember that study being in one of the
Okay.
books we read.
Okay. Yeah.
They all run
That's
together
really
after a while.
incredible.
They all run together. But yeah, it's like that's interesting that so even, your IQ improves when you're eating the right diet, which it means that a lot of kids in school right now need to change. The school's lunches need to change for sure, which we know. So,
Mhm.
all right, Kim.
Okay. Food as a source of health and disease, the evidence. The health promoting diet of mid Victorians, 1850 to 1880. Victorian England between 1850 and 1880 provides an excellent example of the state of health before the change to the human diet caused by the introduction of industrial mass produced food. This mid Victorian period is now recognized as the golden era of British health. It is explained by the high quality of the mid Victorians' diet. Farm produced real foods were available in such abundance that even the working class poor ate highly nutritious foods. As a result, life expectancy in Britain in 1875 was equal to or even surpassed that of modern Britons. This was especially true for men, whose life expectancy was higher by about 3 years. In addition, the profile of diseases was quite different from those prevalent in Britain today. The authors concluded this shows that medical advances allied to the pharmaceutical industry's output have done little more than change the manner of our dying. The Victorians died rapidly of infection and or trauma, whereas we die slowly of degenerative disease. It reveals that with the exception of family planning, the vast edifice of 20th century healthcare has not enabled us to live longer, but has in the main merely supplied methods of suppressing the symptoms of degenerative disease which have emerged due to our failure to maintain mid-Victorian nutritional standards. This mid-Victorian's healthy diet included freely available and cheap vegetables such as onions, carrots, turnips, cabbage, broccoli, peas, and beans, fresh and dried fruit, including apples, legumes and nuts, especially chestnuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, fish, including herring, haddock, and John Dory, other seafood, including oysters, mussels, and whelks, meat, which was considered a mark of a good diet, so much that its complete absence was rare, was sourced from free range animals, especially pork, and also included offal, such as OFFAL. I don't know
Must
if
be
I'm
organs. That must be organ.
such as
Mhm.
brain, heart, pancreas, liver, kidney, lungs, and intestines, eggs from hens that were kept by most urban households, and hard cheeses. Their healthy diet, therefore low in cereals, grains, sugar, trans fat, and refined flour, and high in fiber, phytonutrients, and omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, entirely compatible with the modern paleo or low-carb, high-fat diets. But this period of nutritional paradise changed drastically after 1875, when cheap imports of white flour, tinned meat, sugar, canned fruits, and condensed milk became more readily available. The result was immediately noticeable. By 1883, the British infantry was forced to lower by 3 inches its minimum height for recruits. By 1900, 50% of British volunteers for the Anglo-Boer War were rejected because of undernutrition. The changes were associated with an alteration in disease patterns in these populations, as clearly described by Yellow-Lees in the patients in his rural medical practice in the Scottish Highlands. The remarkable health of other pre-industrial societies eating their traditional diets, and conversely, its immediate destruction with the adoption of the industrial or colonial diet, has been captured in the unique and remarkable writings of Dr. Weston Price.
So they were able to eat a much wider variety of foods. Oh, I have a guest.
What's happening, ladies?
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
So he's just been popping in recently on my videos.
Just saying hi. I want to see where my wife is spending all her time.
Huh?
Just with these two nerds,
Yeah.
Nerding it out.
That's right.
So,
All
but,
right. See you later.
but they were able to eat a lot wider variety of foods. And I mean, this is kind of a lot. It doesn't include grains, but it also, I'm assuming that a lot of these were grown locally and were not hybrid. And it makes me wonder too, like if we were raised with really good, high quality foods, even if it is vegetables and fruits and stuff, if maybe our metabolic health would be better. Because it wasn't until the industrialization and they started adding the cheap stuff and the processed stuff that their health started to really change.
Okay, but the fact that they are criticizing tinned meats, hello, sardines, my favorite. What? Those aren't bad.
Who knows what they were back then, though?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, now we have the process to make sure that everything is sterile and that the seal is really good. I mean, you put a little bit of a hole, or if the seal's not that great, and you're gonna end up with, stuff getting in there. And yeah, I think that probably we've done better with canned stuff because we've learned how to keep it at least hygienic.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if back then maybe they weren't, especially if it was manufactured versus them canning stuff or at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sounds like the Victorian diet, Mediterranean diet can work well when done right.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like it can for people who are metabolically healthy to begin with. The problem is that most of us are so metabolically unhealthy from following the standard American diet that we can't just go to the Mediterranean diet because it's not going to save us at this point. We need to be drastic.
Yeah.
But they also talk here, though, that they weren't eating the grains and stuff. It was mainly vegetables and meat.
Yeah.
And there were some beans, I think, in there, but
they had some
and they did also eat the organs and stuff, which is healthy too.
Yeah. It sounds like they were keto almost,
I know,
definitely low
doesn't it?
carb.
Yeah, well, that looks paleo because of the nuts and the beans and all that.
I mean, you can eat those on keto, like maybe not beans, but nuts.
Yeah. So yeah, they might have been more
Nuts
keto.
are pretty limited as far as, you're not just going to sit there and, especially back then, you probably actually had to shell them,
They were a lot of work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so you probably weren't grabbing a whole Costco size container of nuts and chomping away as you're watching Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see where are we. Okay, we're good. So next section is 1.1.2.2. So it says Weston Price investigates the health and diet of traditional societies. So in the 1930s, Weston Price, a dentist in Cleveland, Ohio, USA, noticed that dental caries were becoming more prevalent in his young patients. At the time, he observed that the teeth of children with type 1 diabetes prescribed high-fat diet in the pre-insulin era were free of caries. The diet comprised milk, cream, butter, eggs, meat, cod liver oil, bulky vegetables, and fruit. His own experiments had also shown that one meal a day high in fat-soluble vitamins could prevent the progression of dental decay in children with active dental caries. He also knew that the teeth of ancient South African fossils did not have dental caries. He wondered whether perhaps a recent dietary change could explain the increase in dental caries among the children in his dental practice. He knew that to answer that question, he would need to travel the world in search of peoples who were still eating the controlled diet that they had eaten before the spread of the modern industrial diet. If they were healthy, he would know that the adoption of that novel diet is a key driver of the ill health of modern humans. So, interesting.
I hear a lot about Weston Price. Admittedly, I do not know much about him, but I keep hearing his name come up, in different books and in different, like in the keto realm.
I forgot he was a dentist.
Yeah, I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I found the Weston A. Price Society had a website. This was like when I first started delving into diet and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did, that was my introduction. So I sort of, between him, that website, and Mark Sisson, it was sort of introduced me into like paleo.
Yeah. So I remember hearing you talk about that. And then I've seen it in several places since I heard you talking about that. So I'm like, maybe I should look into exactly who he was and what he did and stuff. But Mike, you have a great point. Dental health is one of the biggest selling points of carnivore. I think all of us have probably had, good reports from our dental hygienist since we started carnivore. I know I have, and I've heard just numerous reports, too many to count, but it's still, it's still really amazing that they can look and just know immediately, like, oh, wow, something's really different,
Even they see a difference in the gums, like gum inflammation.
Yeah. And even in the absence of any gum disease, because I didn't have any gum disease before, they can tell, like, there's just a huge difference. Your gums look healthy. You don't have as much plaque on your, beneath the gum line, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I had periodontal disease, and it's definitely getting better for sure. I've never had cavities before, but for me, it was the gum, some gum inflammation. I didn't have gingivitis. I just have receding gum.
And they say that can never go away. I've heard people say before, like, not just a few people, like I've heard actual dentists say that once you have gingivitis, it doesn't really go away. You just have to kind of stay on top of it.
Wasn't it Jordan Peterson that had a really bad case of gingivitis, and his did?
I believe so.
I believe you're right.
Just a lot of things are going away or at least lying dormant,
Getting worse. Yeah. I know my gum inflammation has definitely improved. And, time will tell whether the receding gums start to, come
Yeah.
back or not. They can they can fluctuate.
So, and that's another thing is a lot of dentists will tell you that once you have gum recession that it cannot improve. But mine, so where I had the Invisalign, I've had it for almost 3 years because I should have just got regular braces probably. It's just been really difficult to get this one little tooth to line up. And so anyway, I have really bad gum recession on these bottom two, and it has improved. And I told my dentist what I've been doing is I've been using a water flosser every night, and then also eating carnivore, and then also I've been using a one of the vibrating toothbrushes, ultrasonic or whatever, sonic toothbrushes, and I kind of just do it on the gum really easy. I don't aggravate it, but I figured that would probably stimulate blood flow. And it turns out maybe I was right because my dentist said it does look like my gums are improving. So,
well, I needed that. That inspires me because I do have a water pick and I don't use it enough.
oh, those water, I have to use it every night. And I use warm water because after you have Invisalign, your teeth are kind of sensitive
Mine
for a
are.
while,
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm getting way off track. Sorry.
It's an interesting topic.
That all fits because Weston A. Price, talking about, comparing the caries among people who eat a certain way versus not, and then wanting to look into that. And then we're living proof that these benefits are true. We're confirmation of that. Us and a lot of the many people who are out there, in the keto carnivore space are all finding these improvements. So while people think of it as a weight loss thing, it is just really improving you overall. And like you said, Kim, I mean, they dentists and experts, say that, oh no, this can't get any better. I mean, once you've had the recession in your gum line and all that, you just can't recover from that. You can slow it, but you from doing it anymore, but you can't like grow it back. And but I've seen stories like on Dave Mack's channel, people talking about the same thing where they've had improvement in their dental health like that. So
yeah, definitely. All right, good. Well, the next section is another large one. Carrie, do you want to split it with Kim?
Sure. I guess I'll go down to where it says in Australia.
All right, cool.
And then that looks like that'll be about half, I think.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. Roughly. I mean, I'm not going to throw a fit if it's, I didn't get to read as much as Kim.
Words.
But okay, here we go. 1.1.2.1. Nope. 1.1.2.2.1. There was an extra one in there. The healthy populations. With his wife in support, over the next decade, Price examined the teeth and general health of the Swiss inhabitants of the Lochstendel Valley, of Scottish families living on the outer and inner Hebrides, of the Inuit Eskimos of Alaska, of the Indians of the North, West, and Central Canada, the Western United States and Florida, of the Melanesians and Polynesians inhabiting the archipelagos of the Southern Pacific, of 6 tribes in Eastern and Central Africa, including the Maasai, of the Aborigines of Australia, of Malay tribes living on islands north of Australia, of the Maori of New Zealand, and of South Americans in Peru and the Amazon basin. Wherever possible, the health of those continuing to eat traditional foods was compared with that of others in the area who had begun to eat imported diet of processed foods. Prices traveled with a mobile laboratory as well as photographic equipment to collect food samples and to photograph the teeth and faces of the people they examined, as well as recording their general state of health. They also analyzed these traditional foods for the presence of vitamins and minerals. The result of this 6-year project are described in the remarkable book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration.
Ooh,
I
that
have
sounds
not read that
fun.
book, but I want to. That's on my list. The Prices discovered that those farmers and herders who adhered to their traditional diets were, in general, very healthy. Specifically, those who continued to eat the foods of their ancestors showed an almost total absence of tooth decay, broad faces, wide nostrils, and perfect dental arches, superior immunity demonstrated by an absence of tuberculosis in some communities, such as the Swiss of the Lochstendal Valley, and an absence of most of the modern chronic diseases of lifestyle, including cancer, rheumatic diseases, and other autoimmune diseases. For example, they described the Inuit of Alaska as an example of physical excellence and dental perfection, such as has seldom been excelled by any race in the past or present. Wow. And as robust, muscular, and active, inclining rather to sparseness than corpulence, presenting a markedly healthy appearance. The expression of the countenance is one of habitual good humor. The physical constitution of both sexes is strong. His findings of the generally good health of the Inuit match those of Harvard biologist Wilhelmer Stephenson, who wrote several books describing his multi-year experience of living with Inuit and eating their very low carbohydrate, animal-based diet. Stephenson also observed that the Inuit appeared to be free of cancer. Wow. I didn't realize his Weston Price's travels were so vast.
I was thinking the same thing. I knew that he had gone up to study the Inuit, and I think I knew he had gone over down to the Maasai. But all of these, yeah, that was a lot. So he studied a lot. And it's interesting too that here he is also talking about the Inuit in more than just physical terms, right? That their expression is one of habitual good humor. So he's talking about their mental health as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this has definitely helped many of us with our mental health.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. In Australia, Weston Price reserved special praise for the health and physical abilities of those Aborigines who continue to live in accordance with their traditional ways. However, he also observed that, like the Inuit and the American Plains Indians, the Aboriginal health deteriorated catastrophically once their diet began to include wheat flour and sugar. While these evidences of superior physical development demand our most profound admiration, their ability to build superb bodies and maintain them in excellent condition in so difficult an environment commands our genuine respect. It is a supreme test of human efficiency. It is doubtful if many places in the world can demonstrate so great a contrast in physical development and perfection of body as that which exists between the primitive Aborigines of Australia, who have been the sole arbiters of their fate, and those Aborigines who have been under the influence of the white man. The white man has deprived them of their original habitats and is now feeding them in reservations while using them as laborers in modern industrial pursuits. In many cases, he documented the unique nutritional solutions that a group would adopt to ensure their health. For example, those living in the secluded Lochintal Valley of Switzerland paid special attention to the cheese made from milk of cows, fed on the new grasses of summer. It was stored and used throughout the year to feed the young. Those young people were so physically perfect that they provided the pool for the Pontifical Swiss Guard in the Vatican. In Africa, he noticed that the natives of Africa know that certain insects are very rich in special food values at certain seasons. Also, their eggs are valuable foods. From another African tribe with exceptional health and remarkable physiques, the herding Nuers of Sudan, he learned that they have a belief which to them is their religion, namely that every man and woman who has a soul which resides in the liver, and that a man's character and physical growth depend upon how well he feeds that soul by eating the livers of animals. The liver is so sacred that it may not be touched by human hands. It is accordingly always handled with their spear or saber, or with specially prepared forked sticks. It is eaten both raw and cooked. In many places, the prices found that certain foods, such as fish and fish eggs, were traded over long distances with other groups that had no access to aquatic resources. On the island of Viti Levu in Fiji, trade continued between the shore and the interior tribes, even during periods of bitter warfare. The interior group would leave mountain plant foods in known caches at night. In return, the shore groups would leave seafoods. In many of these groups, a special diet was prescribed to newly married couples and to pregnant women. In the Peruvian Andes, the prices found young children with pouches filled with fish eggs that they had collected hundreds of miles away on the Pacific coast. Analyzing these fish eggs, Price found that they contained a high level of what he termed factor X, which he deemed essential for healthy growth.
Sorry, that was thunder.
Oh, that's
The storm moved in.
Wow.
He identified factor X in different foods of many societies, including the special cheese of the Swiss Lautenschal Valley. Factor X was later identified as vitamin K2, which is responsible, among other effects, for the orderly distribution of calcium to various bodily organs. Comparing the vitamin content of traditional and modern foods, Price concluded that the most crucial difference between the two can be found in the higher content of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, and factor X, or K2. He wrote, I have shown that the primitive races studied were dependent upon one of the three sources for some of these fat-soluble factors, namely seafoods, organs of animals, and dairy products. These are all of animal origin. This remarkable book provides an image of traditional societies with astonishing practical knowledge on how to prepare foods optimally for the promotion of health. Their knowledge has been accumulated over countless generations, largely via anecdotes and without the use of scientific method. Today, we would not consider that this method of knowledge accumulation, anecdote versus randomized controlled trial, is scientifically acceptable. And I would like to add, unless you're a carnivore.
That's right. That's right. We lost Carrie.
Oh,
I wonder if it's the storm. Uh-oh. Oh, she'll be back.
Yeah, it sounded like a pretty bad one.
Yeah. I was wondering if she was going to lose her electricity there. Well, hopefully she'll make it back. But interesting. Yeah. And like that last statement is so true, because we say that we have to have these randomized controlled trials, but in all the books we've read, we've seen how poorly done they are.
Yeah. Not only that, but I mean, it's the, as Dr. What's his name? He says it's the individual stories that matter. Dr.
Right.
Oh, what is his name?
Carrie said her power got knocked out.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry, Carrie.
I'm sorry.
But Dr. Kiltz says that, and Dr. Berry and some others say, at what point, how many anecdotal stories equal evidence? You
Right.
know, I mean, I know it's not a high grade evidence. It's not a randomized controlled trial level of evidence, but people's stories matter, and like
Right.
people care what other people's experiences are, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't need a scientific study to try something out. You know, I don't need a scientific study to know how that thing I tried out that my friend recommended affects me.
Right. And especially when you hear person upon person upon person who is experiencing the same benefits. And that's why I love reading comments in the videos. Like I,
Yeah.
watch a testimonial of somebody and it's like, okay, well, that's one person, but then you read the comments.
Oh yeah. Like
And-
I saw somebody in the comments the other day of a Dave Mack video. He said, you know, or he or she said, the comment section is often just as good, if not better, than the video. And that says a lot. I mean, Dave's videos are great, you know,
yeah.
but there's just so many people in the comment sections of most carnivore videos saying, oh yeah, I did this and blah, 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 you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I recently not watched a documentary about the Aborigines of Australia, and it is so sad to see what's come of them as far as, as it's been, I think it's been more than one generation now where they've been exposed to the processed foods and their health is terrible. And it's really, really just sad to see what has come of them. Same with the Native American tribes too. So Mike says exactly, Kim, look at all those groups people list, look at all those people groups listed. They didn't have modern health care. They had generations of experience on how to live. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because they lived that way, but they didn't know what diseases they were missing out on, because they just didn't have those diseases.
And, this just goes to show that, like, we don't need any special study to tell us how to eat. It's just what's natural, what's from the earth, what's, regardless of what diet you're on, it's, if you eat foods that are natural, whole foods, you're probably not going to have a lot of sickness.
Yeah. And when you think about it too, even people who rely on their garden, they're not growing grains, right? I mean, they're not growing rice. I mean, unless you have a big farm, right? But it's just normal people they have a little bit of property or even a backyard garden. They're growing some just basics and, just veggies. They may have some fruit trees and
And, back then, even, I mean, in all of these cultures, I would say that there was probably some variation as to what people could tolerate to eat, just like with us. Like, I may be able to eat this, you may not be able to eat it, and vice versa,
Yeah. And of course, if we're all metabolically healthy, we can probably tolerate pretty much the same types of foods. But I like the hunter-gatherer thing, because they would just rely on seasonal things that they could find. Oh, look, we've got Carrie back. Let's see.
Oh, Carrie.
We've got her almost back.
I'm in the dark.
You're in the dark.
I don't know.
Well, we can hear you. So Mike says, so humans are saying, so you are saying humans can thrive without a copay. Yes, exactly.
That's what I'm attempting to do right now. So.
Yes, go with
Well,
that.
shoot, this is bad, but at least I'm here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can see the outline of your little face.
I can see your face just a little bit. You need to just get a flashlight, and put it like here, like the spooky campfire scenes.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
I figured maybe some of the light from the window would, but oh well. I'm improvising. Hey, I'm using that carnivore calm.
Yes, I think we can make it. We have got 3 small sections, including a summary. I think we can actually make it through this part if you guys want to go for a few more minutes.
Yeah, we can. It's just I can't see to read, so I won't be able to read anymore. You guys will have to do it.
Okay. So then I'll read the next section. It's small. So
There is some feedback though, so I don't know why that is, but
some reverb. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just hearing like some echo. It was since Carrie's come back. I don't know if it's, you may want to just mute your mic if you can, Carrie.
Yeah, I'll mute.
Okay. Oh yeah, the feedback went away. Okay. All right. So the next section is 1.1.2.2.2. Carrie's phone. It's okay. Oh, maybe the feedback is Carrie's phone, possibly. Okay, so this is called the first appearance of specific diseases in these populations. So already at the time of Price's travels, these traditional peoples who lived closer to the seaports or the trading posts that followed the spread of colonialism had begun to replace their traditional diets with the industrially prepared foods that included white flour and sugar. This development allowed Price to compare the health of individuals in the same ethnic groups and living in the same regions who subsisted either on their traditional diets or on the modern industrial diet. He noted an obvious trend. As soon as communities began to eat the modern foods of commerce, the name he gave to foods containing white flour and sugar, their health declined dramatically and predictably. Not only did the rate of dental caries increase substantially in both the young and old, but the facial structures of the children were dramatically changed with dire consequences for their health. It is remarkable that regardless of color, the new generations born after the adoption by primitives of deficient foods develop in general the facial and dental arch deformities and skeletal defects. Significantly, the shape of the nose did not allow for optimal nose breathing, and the crania narrowed, with flat cheeks compared to the broad facial form of those who continued to consume their traditional diets. Well, I am the sad recipient of that because I cannot, my nose is so narrow and it have a deviated septum. Like the ENT doctor that I saw, I need to have surgery really because I have a deviated septum. I have like less than 50% of the air that normal people get even gets into my nose, through my nose. So I struggle like crazy. And so, yeah, I think I'm a recipient of the joy of that poor diet. It would be very nice to have a little bit of more wider space in my nose.
My nose is narrow too.
Yeah. And my mouth is really small. Like I used to, where we used to live, when I took the kids to their pediatric dentist, I went to that dentist because that dentist is used to working in small mouths. My mouth is really small. Yeah.
I bet you're hard to intubate.
Probably. I've had a couple surgeries, so I didn't ask, but I know that I do have a very narrow airway, even down low. I've been scoped by an ENT, and she said, "Oh yeah, you're pretty narrow." And so I know that I'm pretty sore afterwards if I do have to get scoped for a procedure. So, so they're saying our ancestors were hotties. Are you saying we're hotties, Mike?
I think they were because they just had perfect jawlines. Okay, so 1.1.2.2.3, the contribution of Western Price to modern nutritional science. The first scientific contribution made by the Prices was a renewed appreciation of the nutritional importance of vitamins and minerals. Not that the Prices knew which specific vitamins or minerals were involved, but they did realize that something special was present in the specific cheese, fish eggs, liver, or a myriad of other vitamin-containing foods that were unique to the diets of the different healthy populations that they studied. Secondly, they learned how these traditional societies prepared each food source to remove specific deleterious effects. Many foods, mostly plants, have chemicals that are toxic to humans. Plants invest heavily in defending themselves from consumption. They do this by producing toxins and anti-nutrients, especially in their seeds, which are energy-dense parts that mammals prefer. This explains why humans cannot safely eat raw wheat, rice, or beans. The harmful chemical compounds in most plants include rapidly acting toxins, as well as toxins that produce more subtle effects with prolonged consumption. They also contain compounds that reduce the digestibility of the plant macronutrients and interfere with mineral absorption. Humans have developed a number of methods of food preparation or preservation that neutralize wholly, partly or wholly, these deleterious chemical compounds in plants. The best known and arguably the oldest preparation method is thermal processing, be it roasting, cooking, or baking. The cooking of plants has been practiced since at least the Paleolithic era. Fermentation, which is the external predigestion of food by bacteria, also dates back to the Paleolithic era. Fermentation is widely used to prepare plants as well as dairy products and sometimes meat. For example, the rising of dough is a form of fermentation. Thus, the preparation of bread combines two food preparation methods: fermentation and heat cooking, or heat processing, or baking. In societies in South America and Africa whose staple food is maize, the maize is fermented and cooked with lime in a process named nixtamalization, which removes the anti-nutrients that interfere with plant nutrient digestion and absorption. Sprouting and soaking are also effective in neutralizing plant toxins and are used to prepare legumes and cereals, amongst other foods.
So this whole section is Dr. Chafee.
Yes,
trying to
that's
kill
what
it.
I was thinking.
Yes. But I mean, and I know that he chooses not to eat any plants, but I know that you can prepare them in such a way that you can neutralize the toxins. So, but I guess the question is that are they still serving you? Like I don't eat any plants, but it makes me think that maybe if I did choose to sometime in the future, if I'm metabolically healthy, I'm definitely not going to go raw. I wonder about these people who are just raw vegans.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and how they. I know a lot of people when they initially become vegan or vegetarian feel better, but I just think it's probably because they're getting rid of all of the processed garbage.
And that's what they think about us too. I've been watching some of them recently. Like they just pop up, and I'm like, okay, I want to see how they think.
Well, and there is something to be said about getting rid of the processed garbage and getting rid of the sugar, for sure. I mean, I think that a part of the benefit is that. But I think the people who've been long-term carnivore are still doing well because we're also getting nutrients, and we're not getting those anti-nutrients, the toxins of the plants. So
well, early in my carnivore journey, in one of my videos that I don't know if it was the video that you discovered me, where I was listing all the symptoms, I had a couple of those. But anyway, early in my journey, I said at the end of the video, and I almost wish I could take it back, but I said, it's not that I think that it's just the addition of meat, but maybe the absence of everything else.
Mhm.
And I no longer think that, but you can't change a video. So
yeah.
kind of like what you said. I think it is the meat,
Right. I know, because I'm like you, like early on in my journey, I honestly didn't know how many nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and all the nutrients are actually in meat. And so, yeah, it was easy to think, well, it's just that you take away all this other stuff, but you're also adding nutrients that you weren't necessarily getting before. And the bioavailability is really important, because I know with plants, a lot of times those nutrients get caught up in the fiber and they go out of you as poop. Mike, you still here? And they kind of go out of you. You don't necessarily absorb everything. Whereas with the meat, I think you absorb a lot more. So, alrighty, one last section, and then we can make it a wrap for today. So this is the summary for this this part. So it says, to summarize, the study of traditional healthy societies teaches us that humans built countless food systems by trial and error, each unique to a particular environment. These systems included a unique set of essential foods that originated within those environments, as well as methods for removing toxins from plants to increase the absorbability of their contained nutrients. Most importantly, being relatively small and stable, these traditional societies could ensure that this knowledge was passed down from generation to generation. In overview, we can see that an originally meat-dominated diet during the first 2.5 million years of human evolution transformed a few thousand years ago into thousands of locally adapted diets, each forming a complete nutritional system aligned with a specific local agricultural system that provided healthy nutrition for all members of these local communities. However, as the very reason for the price's travel shows, signs of deterioration, both in dental and general health, appeared in the first half of the 20th century in America and other non-secluded parts of the world. Industrialization and the global trend of urbanization seem to have broken the transference of communal nutritional knowledge. Urbanization also eliminated easy access to foods that had secured the health of traditional societies over hundreds of generations. But the prices were not alone in alerting the world to the critical importance of diet and dietary changes in determining human health. So we can stop there, and that's where the next part we're going to learn about somebody else who studied this.
All right.
Okie dokie. So it looks like if we don't plan something, and now I'm reverbing, if we don't plan something specific for next week, we I guess it'll be 2 weeks. So
Okay. I was just gonna say, I mean, we can text and then let our people know, but I mean, I'm open to doing it like after work some night. I'm usually home by 8 Eastern Standard Time. So if that's an option for you guys, just let me know.
Okay. Yeah, now we have zoning laws where we can't have chickens in town. I know. And HOAs. I can't have chickens in my backyard because of our HOA. Annoying. So yeah. So we'll definitely see if we end up deciding to fit a session in next week. We'll schedule it. We'll let you know for sure. All right. So let's plug Carrie's channel. Carrie is at My Meatomorphosis. So if you want to find her there. I'm at Midlife Carnivore. Kim?
I am at Carnivore Nurse Kim. So
Awesome.
come check us out. Carrie, I hope your power comes back on soon.
Yes, I hope
Me
so
too, because it's hot.
Oh.
Even though the storm moved in, it's been like 98 degrees. It's been so hot. And I can already tell.
Take a cool shower.
Man, I'm gonna have to.
Open some windows and get some air circulating.
Probably hotter outside, I would imagine, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. There might be a breeze out there. It looks like it's blowing, but yeah, this just, I mean, I was startled after that first loud thunderclap and lightning flash, and then it was like right after that was when my power just went whoop.
Yeah. Oh, bummer.
So, but I'm glad that I was able to participate, and even though you can't see me, and I'm here by a window, I do not understand why you can't at least see a little bit of me, but I'm by a window and there's no light, so I'm not sure what's going on there. My camera's on, so. But anyway, I enjoyed it, you guys, as usual. I'm so glad that we do this. I learn a lot, and of course, hanging out with you guys is always great.
Mm-hmm. Yes. One of these days we're going to get together in person and have our little nerdy meeting.
That's right.
I love it.
That sounds good. Yes. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Like, it was kind of cool.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, everyone. All right. We are ending the